Yeah, welcome back, everyone, to this podcast. It's episode 3, and if you have been following along, you already know how it's go. So it's no slides, no scripts, not everything prepared in advance. So yeah, today's topic is Hyperliquid, Perps, RWA, and everything between. And given that hype is just hitting new all-time high, and I think we picked a good week for that. I'm joined today with my teammates Alex and Oleg, and we have a guest today, Dima. Dima is product director of Course 3. So I hope today we will have an insight and engaged conversation about that. So yeah, welcome everyone. Yeah, Dim, I want to give you a voice, a mic, and you can introduce yourself and share more details.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here, guys, to discuss some interesting news and topics about the cryptocurrency market we all love so much. I'm product director at Core3 platform, working on the building of the risk infrastructure layer for the crypto market. Um, this is basically the most important thing that we are focused on currently.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it's pleasure to see you here. So I think Hyperliquid is super hype topic on the crypto Twitter, and mostly everyone discuss it. And yeah, I just wanted to dive into it, into HIPs, what markets they are sharing right now. So, yeah, what's your general opinion about Hyperliquid? What do you think about it? Uh, who wants to start?
So I can start actually, if you will allow me, as the new attendee of this podcast. So Hyperliquid is an outstanding solution that is really timely for this market and for these market conditions, because it have done some tremendous things and transformation with the cryptocurrency market, introducing basically another angle of the utility, right? Because of course, crypto is all about excitement, projects, technologies, and ideas that should be ideally driving the world. But in reality, talking about the mass adoption, it's not really like that at the moment, at least. And the most important and spread it around the market factors and utility tools at the moment are stable coins. Those are possessing huge interest for traditional finance sector, and Hyperliquid is actually serves as an introduction layer at the moment of the traditional finance infrastructure for border market with lower entry level, with maxed out capabilities and opportunities. Because if someone from you was interacting before with brokers, like interactive brokers, Exanta, etc., you know that trading there is pretty complex. Talking about leverage, you're really limited there. Talking about depositing of your account, lots of things are required from your side. Talking about QACs, QATs, proof of funds processes. It's a complicated process. I'm not telling that this is wrong, because obviously there is a lot of reasons so this process to be that complicated, and the leverage limitations are mostly for the market participants' protection. But Hyperliquid is basically introducing the traditional finance markets for us, for regular market participants at the moment, allowing us to take best from both sides, basically, right? But that is actually the most recent utility that was found, most likely after the Iranian war, when all those hype hyped topics around crude oil appeared on the market. But before that, of course, Hyperliquid was already top representative of its niche, of its category, because it deserved its basically position and name by becoming the best, I would say, perpetual DEX on the market, right? So allowing first to trade crypto on chain using DEX infrastructure with all the same advantages that I've just mentioned for the traditional segment, but for crypto. And of course, those factors are making this platform unique. Those factors making this platform an example, basically for both crypto market and for traditional market as well. So it gives an understanding of the current needs of all the market participants, because Hyperliquid is being really popular not only among crypto users, it's extremely popular among traditional investors as well, because they would like to have a proper access to pre-market trading, post-market trading, days trading if required. And this solution gives those opportunities. So talking about the unique uniqueness of the project, right, about the unique case of its success story, I believe that it's heavily due to those factors that I've just mentioned. And of course, they've had a beautiful launch with their airdrop program that was record breaking at that time. They've airdropped something around $1.2 billion at that current that price of hype token was like $3 each. I don't even want to convert that number of the general supply of the airdrop that was allocated to the community to the current prices, right? But it's just an outstanding project on the cryptocurrency market. It is an example for many participants, and it deserved its place to be that popular in all those communities that we were discussing previously, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And yeah, it's as you said that it's a proper project. Is they are breaking like records on the current market right now. They're talking hype. Their volume. It's uh, it's something unbelievable for me. And every morning when I open a Twitter, I see a lot of news and I'm scrolling the feed, and yeah, it's something that make me a bit speechless, I think, because I don't even like describe this nonsense on the market, because yeah, they allocated a big amount of tokens to the community, then dropped it again. Everything what they earned, they dropped again into their project, and it's started like it was a next step, next stage for them, and they continued their growth. Yeah, it's amazing. And I think Perp Dex, it was something new for me, because yeah, I think it's more related to the TradeFi, and right now Hyperliquid on the it's, I could say, a bridge between crypto finance and TradeFi. So yeah, I wanted to dive maybe a bit into perp decks, because right now, as I remember, Hyperliquid, they are covering 40 or 50% of the perps market. And yeah, I want to ask you, Alexander, Oleg, or Dima, could you please explain for our audience what is perp dex and what is the difference maybe with the spot dex? And yeah, go into this way right now. Alexander, Oleg.
I can take it.
Yeah. Oh, I think there was some like connection problems. Everything is good right now. So yeah, go on.
Yeah, so basically the difference is quite simple. As you already rightly mentioned, the first one, talking about traditional DEXs, allowing you to interact with the spot configuration of the asset, right? And the other one is allowing you to interact with the derivatives side of things, because Perp DEXs are evolving, and they are not just allowing you to utilize the perpetual futures, they are also um, building the opportunities to open option positions and stuff like that. That is the first point. And the second point, I would say that traditional DEXs allowing you to interact with them basically directly interacting with your wallet, with your on-chain wallet. When we're talking about perp dexes, since they are allowing you to utilize the leverage opportunities of their platform, they need to have some collateral on their side to be able basically to liquidate your position, right? So the previous option of the social contract, let's call it like that, isn't possible for them. So that's why you need to deposit funds directly on the platform, and then you basically can use it.
Uh, I wanted to ask actually about that phenomenon of Hyperliquid because, as you mentioned, like now it's like an entrance point for the newcomers into crypto, and talking about me personally, I also entered that industry from trading, but it back then it was on the centralized exchanges and. My question is like, is it really that the perp trading when it's decentralized, it's so important that it bring so much attention to that project? Because like personally, for me, I don't see any uh, benefits except that of course I own my funds on the Hyperliquid, but other stuff I don't see like any differences between, like, for example, trading perpetual futures on Hyperliquid or on Binance or Bybit. So yeah, why Hyperliquid became so hyped?
So I can actually answer that question. That is quite an interesting one, an important one as well, because it's not just about the perpetuals that makes them that special. It's about creation of an alternative, a proper and a quality alternative for the uh, regular exchanges, centralized exchanges, as you already mentioned. Of course, it's really difficult to compete with those, as when you are owning centralized infrastructure, you can do so much things in a way that you can only imagine. So that's why we can see so many different opportunities that centralized exchanges allowing their user to experience. Right, we are talking about different staking programs. We are talking about borrowing and lendings. We are talking about trading, of course, spot derivatives, options, swaps. We're talking about multiple options of farming opportunities, different incentivization programs, and lots of different things additionally to that. I'm even not mentioning such an interesting things and solutions like the bridging opportunities that are not requiring like additional efforts or some extra things. But again, at what cost, at what price? Because you are still dependent and interacting with the centralized infrastructure. And it's not necessarily that bad, right? Because again, there are some proper centralized exchanges you can trust in, but again, trust in crypto, this is not like the best practice that exists here. So in the first place, of course, Hyperliquid allowing you to experience most of those benefits, like on their platform, not carrying those custodial risks that you by default have once you are depositing your funds on centralized exchange. So that is basically one of the most important factors that I would highlight. Another one would also be quite fair and frank to name is that it allows insider trading opportunities and making different shenanigans. Because again, you are allowed to interact with this platform without bypassing any kind of QACs, and anyone can deposit their own chain wallet using some kind of provider, great provider that does not require basically any identification. And then you are just directly depositing your funds on Hyperliquid, and you are allowed to do anything you want to, right? Of course, they are US based project. I believe in a way they have some kind of reporting system, but again, it's not at the same level as centralized exchanges has. So those are just my few thoughts about why it became that important and that popular.
So we can say that Hyperliquid is such an example of how the original idea behind the crypto, which is decentralization, is like still alive and doing well because uh, with the beer market, a lot of guys started to say that what's the purpose of decentralization while like people need to dive into all that complex features of crypto. They don't really need that decentralization. They just need the platform to be simple in use and like understandable. But Hyperliquid and I would say Polymarket for now is like examples of how it can be both decentralized and with good UI UX design. Yeah.
I would say that just a few comments on that. It really depends on what you consider to be that original idea of crypto, right? Because yeah, decentralization is great, but again, solutions like Hyperliquid and Polymarket, they are extremely interesting from that perspective that they are, while being of course crypto native, they are more like you already guys mentioned bridges between the traditional financial ecosystem and the crypto ecosystem as well, right? And Hyperliquid in particular got their second life basically right after those events when they started to make the listings of different commodities and stocks on their platform and provided that access for all the basically market participants. So we are still talking about crypto is being utility for the traditional ecosystem by introducing some, I don't know, extra space in terms of freedom and stuff like that. So it's really interesting question, but it's difficult to answer on it in a simple way.
Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned that the crypto is like a utility to traditional finance because at the beginning you also mentioned the stable coins, and we all know that recently the one more step to the Clarity Act adoption was taken. But and we had a podcast about that where we found out that the stable coins became like in this battle between the traditional finance and decentralized finance, we see that traditional finance is still winning, and on example with that stable coin, Clarity Act when the traditional banks banned the yield on stablecoins. And what I'm asking is that Hyperliquid is like an alternative to that interactive brokers and others platforms from traditional finance. How do you think, guys, they will that battle between Hyperliquid and those platforms will go on? And maybe we will see something like that with stablecoins when something will be banned. Because am I right or wrong that Hyperliquid is not available on the US territory or not?
I can't remember exactly, but if you're asking about how Clarity Act will affect on the Hyperliquid and how it will be in this competition between traditional finance and traditional finance platform and Hyperliquid, I think it will be much clearer because Hyperliquid is under category of DeFi and it won't be touched. And I think it will be like super easy to interact with this platform, and we won't see any restrictions on it. So for me, this path is clear for them.
It just I was more talking about that battle because like again, before Hyperliquid, we didn't have any alternatives to traditional finance. We cannot trade stocks on without that QIC, without downloading that interactive brokers platforms, all that stuff. Now with that Hyperliquid, we have that opportunity with tokenized assets. But so like for me. When some platform become popular, it means that it grabs a fraction of people who were previously using other platforms, traditional platforms. And I think no one will like it. So as it was with stablecoins, when stablecoins became so popular that traditional banks saw a threat to their deposits, and that's why they banned the yield on it. So maybe the traditional platforms like interactive brokers and all that other stuff will also see a threat in Hyperliquid perps trading.
So I believe that an important factor is to clearly understand whether there is that battle and there is that competition. Because from one perspective, of course, I understand your takes, but from the other perspective, I would say that I can see it in a way that banks you are referring right now that are battling with the stable coins, they are basically trying to find the best solution possible to coexist, not to win some kind of battle, right? So in my opinion, and again, we know from like pretty old news already that all the US native banks are getting prepared to become the issuers basically of the stable coins, because the rules for becoming ones is extremely clear and you can also see the benefits from that. So they are not against it in any shape or form, but it just creating the environment when everybody can coexist together. And the same way with the Hyperliquid, I feel like. So let's also not exaggerate the platform. It's not that ideal. It doesn't really have that huge liquidity on it, especially on those converted stocks or shares or commodities. Yes, of course, as a regular trader, you are allowed to trade their different volumes, like in range from 1 to, I believe, few dozens K, but when you are going higher than that, you are facing huge slippages, huge price impacts, and different unpleasant stuff that is not available and exist on traditional like brokers, right? And different trading accounts that allows you basically to interact with any kind of basically numbers in the deal. And there are many more different arguments for that as well, because again, we are talking about the bridge, right? That helps you to interact with an asset, but really serves as just an CFD contract for future difference that not necessarily have not necessarily at all do not have any kind of impact on the real price action, on the real price. And again, we can also talk about the limited number of assets that are available for trading and interaction. So we can go on and on and on and talk about all those negatives and inefficiencies that most likely will be closing, right? That gap is expected to be smaller than the one that exists right now, but still, it's really difficult to talk about the real competition because there is no real competition between those areas. And as the reference point, I would even like to make the reference to Polymarket because that was an interesting article done by one of the gambling association representative. I can't really remember who was that specifically because everybody was expecting that race of the poly market is going to become an issue for the gambling industry, right? Because you are basically competing for the same type of user, for the same type of client. Because again, let's face it, prediction markets, those are like really close to the betting stuff and things like that. But their vision, and that is, in my opinion, right vision, is that prediction markets are basically the funnel. That is not an alternative to the traditional gambling, to all the capabilities that they have here with different stages and different like levels of involvement into the gambling process. Prediction markets gives you an illusion that you are betting on real world situation. You have the control over the things, and you are basically becoming a part of that funnel that eventually will convert some portion of those users to the next levels of the gambling hierarchy, basically, right? So from their perspective, they are not competing at all. They are thankful for that kind of solution because it will inevitably bring them more clients and customers in the future. And of course, those are pretty different situations with the Hyperliquid and with the stable coins. But I believe you got my point that it's not that binary. It's not just, they are battling or they are doing everything together. There is some elements of healthy relations between them that are most likely expected to be even better in the nearest future or so.
So it's more related to the mass adoption and interaction between two markets, and we need to not to think about competitors. We need to think how it's become way better for each of them. It's interesting because firstly, when I started diving into the Perps, I really didn't understand what I trade in, because for me, brokers, when you give in a broker money, you understand that broker is trading by the stocks. But in the Perps, as I understand, that I'm not trading a stock, I'm trading something synthetic because it's because there is not like an array tokenization on chain. You're trading by something synthetic stock, or I'm wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. Different providers can call it differently, but in general, those things, they are pretty old and exist for dozens of years already, because different shady markets were existing for so many years already, that were allowing you to interact with dark pools, with OTC markets, and like trade in those like pre-markets and post markets, and explore different side of opportunities that exist on the traditional infrastructure of the traditional brokerage environment. And those contracts, as I already mentioned, called CFD, contracts for future price difference. So basically, yeah, you are not interacting with the real asset, you are not impacting with any size that you are going to allocate to the particular asset on the particular price action of the asset. You are just going to be interacting with the contract that is going to reward you with that difference. Basically, you will end up with.
Yeah, and continuing your ideas that it's not competition, it's something, it's more like a mass adoption. For me, for a guy who is long time in crypto, it's, I don't know why, but it's easier to go on the poly market, into Hyperliquid and trade these synthetic stocks than to give someone money and not to interact with it directly. So in some way, I have like more trust to the Hyperliquid than to the side broker.
Yeah, and the last thing that I just would wanted to mention, because we will touch on slightly on this topic as well. Hyperliquid isn't the first crypto solution that allows you to interact with the traditional finance infrastructure. There were solutions already before, but they were never successful. So even before Hyperliquid introduced their offering, I believe that Bybit was even before them, but it wasn't that successful because of different reasons. One of those was the scope of the listed assets and the lack of the normal leverage opportunities. And I'm not that sure about Bybit, because it might have been in the same time, but definitely when we're talking about FTX, they were the first, at least in terms of the centralized exchanges who introduced those capabilities. And their scope was pretty complete. They were also allowing leverage trading. It was really limited. I believe X4 was maximum, but I can be mistaken. But still, just wanted to mention that it is not the first solution. It is first successful solution that found basically its product market fit.
Regarding Bybit, I watched an interview with the CEO of Bybit, and he said that this was like that's it. This perp trading, they started implementing it on the beginning of their journey in crypto, because he was a trader, his friend was a trader, so they faced with the complex things, and that is why they wanted to implement that on Bybit. Yeah, sorry for drifting to another topic. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I wanted to add that I like how crypto space, crypto's place in this world is starting to take shape right now. I mean, like a lot of people nowadays saying that crypto is dead, but I see quite opposite situation, because like for the first time we seeing that crypto is actually needed by people, by some other people than just crypto enthusiasts. I mean, firstly it was with stable coins, when we see that now it's being adopted by traditional banks, and with the Hyperliquid, I see here that the possibility of that underlying technology and infrastructure will be used by the traditional stock markets. I heard previously that the head of Nasdaq or the New York uh, exchange where all those stocks are being traded, he said that they already planning to launch like their to tokenize their assets, so it will allow people to trade them anytime, because now in traditional markets you have limits when you can trade assets. Like you can trade on weekends, you can trade after certain hours because the exchange are closed. So yeah, the technology that underline the Hyperliquid uh, will also find its market fit in the society, in the world at all. So yeah, it's quite interesting to see when everyone's saying about the downfall of crypto. We actually seen the first cases when it found its market fit.
I would say that you are absolutely right. However, I feel like that portion of frustration that we are hearing about the current poor state of crypto is more coming from the fact that there is nothing to offer uh, like separately, right? So we are talking about crypto market as the distinct market, that distinct financial ecosystem that was evolving for so many years already, but still lacks to offer something significant for the world, for the adoption, and to achieve some kind of real use case. So huge bets were more previously huge bets were made on like more crypto native solutions like blockchain ecosystem in terms of the storage technologies that are going to be used to fight the bureaucracy. It's basically failed to be delivered, at least at this stage. Then the next similar level of hype was around NFTs that were supposed to kill basically intellectual property bureaucracy that exists in the world. That also failed to be delivered. And right now, we also, of course, can see those efforts to create the interaction opportunities with the traditional financial markets, and that is a great thing. That is at least something, but still, we are talking about basically creating a pool of new liquidity for the older brother, because again, you already rightly mentioned that those nice and Nasdaqs and other stock exchanges already preparing themselves for the tokenized shares adoption and stuff like that, and there are already brokers that are implementing those technologies like Robinhood and etc. But the thing is that they are not doing that because that they see that much value at the moment, at least in crypto market, because it's again relatively small compared to the real traditional finance ecosystem. It's more about the current trends that we have, especially in the US um, crypto related decision making. So we can see that level of acceptance. I cannot call it adoption right now, but we can see that crypto was accepted by by the latest administration, and we can see that there is a huge bet on stable coins in particular, because this is clear business for them. You have the stablecoin that has to be backed by something, and there is nothing better exists in the world to bake your stablecoin than U.S. Treasury bills. That is the major asset for basically U.S. government and U.S. as the state. So in just overnight, they found basically new unlimited market of demand for their major asset, that is again US Treasury bill. And over the last years we can see that crypto providers like Circle and Tether, already only two of those are already competing with the countries in the scale of the US Treasury bills they are holding on their balances. So currently they are 8 combined. They are 8 compared with the biggest countries in the world. So of course that is the lucrative opportunity they are not going to miss, and they are betting on basically increase of the supply of the stablecoin. That's why they are creating those that environment for the US banks, for example, right, to become the issuers of those stablecoins. They have the backing for those issuers, and overnight you created a huge pool of new liquidity, basically without creating anything and without selling anything in addition. It's just the same things that you just reused to duplicate the same liquidity that you need to spend for something, right? Because you created a new pool of stablecoins that has to be spent on something. And why not tokenize the traditional stuff? Why not tokenize the traditional stocks and not to pump that huge liquidity into them again? It's a massive topic, basically. I believe that there are lots of sophisticated ideas that they might be having, but the thing is that I feel like the whole frustration you was referring to, in terms of the lack of the like ideas in crypto market and lack of like real life in crypto market, most likely related to that fact. Of course, nobody really believes that crypto will die and those important and beautiful things that we were discussing during this podcast will be eliminated.
Yeah, at first I thought that stablecoins are those new thing that crypto has to offer, but then I realized that like from the start everyone was talking about a revolution against traditional finance, and now these stablecoins have to be backed by the very same traditional money that people were against
Instead of
from the
fighting it,
beginning.
you join in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I think it's also mentioned in this Clarity Act that you need to be backed by real money, so you don't have like a bubble or something like that. So you need to prove something. And I wanted to highlight that one of the big project like Solana, also like making the steps to the traditional finance. As I remember, they executed their stable coin together with Western Union. So I think that everyone trying to catch this narrative, to catch also a Hyperliquid, because I think it's like an ideal project right now on the markets that who are building this bridge between traditional finance. Yeah.
And I also the funny part is that we call that RWA, real world assets, which for random person it think like the crypto is not real, and we trying to engage something real from traditional market, but at the core, like for example, what's the difference between the stock of Apple and the token of Ripple? But we still call that they as real world assets, while our assets is not real.
Yeah, I had a thought in mind. I've been listening to you guys. It was awesome, and now it's the time that I can talk. And I had this idea about this all the real world assets and like the crypto adoption. So yeah, the Hyperliquid is like giving people a lot of stuff to trade, so it gets more adoption and more volume, and just like following the whole like crypto trend. I don't think a lot of people like during this bear market are ready to get to know crypto. They're like scared of it, and everyone is trying to build in bear so we can get more of an adoption during the bull market. Like with every company doing all those like crypto cards, it's getting way easier to like pay for everyday things with crypto. And I see a lot of projects like actually building. And I think with the like Clarity Act and all of that, we just have to like live until that time, and until the bull we'll see a lot of projects like actually build and get ready for this mass adoption. And the funny thought I had, if the US given out the stimulus checks, they will turn it into stimulus checks paid in stable coins. What do you think? Is it possible, or is it just a funny thought that I had?
I I still waiting when they have when they have created this Bitcoin reserve. So I don't expect that there will be like some motivational stuff for the builders, and maybe Trump will give his meme coin, and that's all.
Could be.
Yep. Guys, do you want to discuss something more specific about? Because I think we covered a lot of topics, and some of them was really complex. And do we have something to discuss after that, or we can stop on this point today?
I think we covered a lot. There is also a lot more to think about after that conversation. So yeah, it was we spent a great time, and I thank you for that conversation. To you guys, thank you, Dima, for joining us. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
It was my pleasure, guys.